Well, we're going to talk more about Caitlin Clark's absence and the impact this is felt. That's being felt around the league, and even in Indiana, it's going to be a big impact.
When one player is lugging the whole WNBA like a broken refrigerator up a fifth-floor walk-up, you know things get heated. Caitlin Clark has essentially taken on the role of the league. She is the primary character, the plot twist, and the only reason half of the nation is aware that the WNBA still exists, according to TV ratings. Just imagine ESPN clinging to Caitlin like a koala on espresso if it could give a human a physical embrace.
What I'm interested in is what somebody tweeted me and asked about earlier today that I want to show you right now. Put this tweet up, please, so our audience can see it here. At 4th Gen Bucci, B-U-C-C-I. Right, Stephen A. Smith. Can the WNBA keep itself afloat while CC, as in Caitlin Clark, is out? End quote.
We're talking about execs popping champagne TV numbers and setting records that raise eyebrows. People who haven't seen a women's basketball game since Lisa Leslie's Slam are suddenly watching like it's the NBA Finals, which is the kind of viewership the WNBA likely believed was gone. You could hear remote controls all over the country suffering from arthritis as a result of frequently flipping to watch Caitlin, but the WNBA is treating her like just another jersey in the locker room. If Caitlin's presence is priceless, the WNBA brass is over here attempting to exchange it for an expired jersey. Tokens of Chuck E. Cheese.
With you guys today, the ratings are out. Indiana Fever versus the New York Liberty, Caitlin Clark's most recent game on cable TV. And on top of that, the WNBA, desperate to sell tickets to tonight's one.
Let's be honest. The WNBA remarked, "Make do flights and economy a schedule that makes coal miners wheeze and treatment," which is one step short of elder mistreatment, without even extending the red carpet. They also displayed a yoga mat. If this is how the league treats its one cash cow, imagine what it does for everyone else. And now that she's hurt, the silence is suddenly deafening. Caitlin Clark is not only surpassing expectations, but doing so while being side-eyed by envious teammates and getting shoulder-checked by players acting like it's WrestleMania.
Nor am I going to take my eyes off of what transpires with the WNBA over the next 2 weeks while Caitlin Clark is out with the quad strain. And the reason why is because, let me tell you something right now. I'm not going to go to word hate. I'm not going to be out there like RG3 was saying that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark or other players hate Caitlin Clark. But I will say this. I don't think it's specific about Caitlin Clark. I think it's what Caitlin Clark represents. See, it's no fault of Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark balls. She balled at Iowa in college. She's balled since she's been in the NBA. She came into the league last year with no break whatsoever between the college game and the pro game and did her thing. Ended up as an all-star, ended up being 4th in the league in MVP voting, was the clear winner for Rookie of the Year. No competition whatsoever in that regard when it was really all said and done. We know what she brings to the table.
But Caitlin Clark has just been ruled out for the next 2 weeks, and ticket sales are already down 75%. So if you didn't know, Caitlin Clark injured her hamstring and is out for the next 2 weeks, including 2 road games. One of those games being against the Chicago Sky and Angel Reese, where they have a very heated rivalry. Just 2 days ago, the cheapest ticket to get into the Chicago Sky versus Indiana Fever game was $86, and now it's down to $25. This is also against the same person who said the reason people come to watch the WNBA is because of her, talking about Angel Reese, but she cannot even keep the ticket prices up. The teams that Caitlin Clark was supposed to play against over these next 2 weeks also already rented out a bigger stadium because of how many people they were expecting to have show up to see Caitlin Clark play. And because the WNBA is only about 40 games, she is missing a huge chunk of time with being out 2 weeks in June.
You guys could almost hear the panic spreading at WNBA headquarters when Caitlin suffered a sprained ankle and everyone fumbled like they had just dropped a baby in a swimming pool. That's because, without Caitlin, the league loses relevance and goes back to gyms that sound like church halls, and attendance is so low that you can hear players' thoughts. Without her, however, it wasn't just about the play. It was about the drama, the buzz, and the excitement. Without her, the WNBA is once again trying to sell water in a downpour.
Oh boy, WNBA fans, y'all are screwed. Look at that. Caitlin Clark is out 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Do you know how bad the WNBA ratings are going to be for the next 2 weeks? Nobody watches the WNBA at all if it's not for Caitlin Clark in the first place. Now that she is hurt, who in the world is going to watch these games? Who in the world is going to watch a WNBA game without the biggest star the sport has seen ever? Like, this is going to be hilarious the next couple of weeks when these ABC stations, TNT, ESPN, see how bad the ratings are when Caitlin Clark isn't playing. And then all the players are going to see, oh wow, we actually need Caitlin Clark to play in these games for us to try to make money.
In the meantime, social media is operating in full mourning mode. The comment sections appear to be memorials, and individuals are not only depressed but also furious because they knew this would happen. You push a player to the ground, arrange back-to-back games as a sort of discipline, and then appear shocked when she falls. Caitlin has been treated like a one-woman circus act who is supposed to work miracles while everyone else folds their arms and acts as though she's just fortunate to be present. Let's talk numbers, because that's when the real roasting starts. Caitlin Clark's one fortunate thing is that she hasn't fully carried the rim off the backboard from excessive use. When Caitlin plays, the lights are brighter, the crowd is louder, the sponsors are happier, and the popcorn is 30% salter. When she doesn't, the drop-off is so dramatic that it's essentially a cliff dive television rating without Caitlin, and even the fans admit it. It's not just influence that's dominance. Caitlin's games have outperformed every other matchup this season by laughable margins.
Caitlin Clark effect is real. Caitlin Clark effect is alive and well, but unfortunately for the WNBA, she's now out for a minimum of 2 weeks before she gets reevaluated. So they might not see numbers like this for quite some time. This next Indiana Fever versus Chicago Sky game, June 7th, I believe, that's going to be on CBS as well. You think that's going to draw 2.7? I can assure you it won't. You think that's going to draw over 2 million? I can assure you that won't.
What the WNBA does in response is to toss her to the Wolves, who are defenders who have the tact and elegance of a demolition crew under the influence of coffee, with a bullseye on her back and a neon sign that says, "Please foul me repeatedly." Caitlin Clark, the league's biggest draw in years, is thrown into the lion's den. It's adorable that the referees are essentially giving out coupons for one free hard foul, and now that she's hurt, the league is adopting the traditional shrug and pivoting, desperately searching the room for the next headline. Her minutes have been stretched thinner than cheap spandex, as if overplaying a rookie in the most physical league imaginable is somehow a growth strategy protection on the court. Generator spoiler alert. There isn't one, because the momentum that had been rising like a freight train abruptly crashed into a concrete wall as soon as Caitlin hit the ground, clutching her injuries. Everything vanished in an instant, including the enthusiasm, energy, and discussion about the ratings. The WNBA is learning the hard way that you don't create a league by destroying your best player after they bet on her star power without safeguarding the investment.
We need her to play for us to get views, so maybe we should stop hurting her. Oh, maybe they'll finally see that they need Caitlin Clark. I mean, I can't believe we even have to discuss this, that she's even, I mean, if you don't think she's the biggest star in the sport, you're delusional. This girl carries not only her team, but her sport and her league. She carries the league, and you're going to find out.
Currently discussing the Indiana Fever, you would be totally mistaken if you believed they didn't notice Caitlin's absence right away. Their most recent game against the Washington Mystics was an agonizing sight, akin to seeing a chicken attempt to pilot a jet ski in a muddled, chaotic situation that wasn't even close to taking home any honors. The players appear to be waiting for Caitlin to appear out of a Gatorade cooler and perform a miracle save. But spoiler alert, no such luck. The Fever cooled that 1-8-3-7-7, and you could just taste the desperation lingering in the air. Even while it's still technically pizza, the offense crept forward more slowly than dial-up internet in the era of fiber optics. The Fever without Caitlin is like a pizza without cheese. More lacking in defense than a sitcom, it's a harsh reminder that sometimes one player can really make or break the entire team. Dad forgot to show up, so the dots were missed like they were allergic to the basket itself. The rhythm was completely off, the spacing was tragic, and the energy picture of trying to power a roller coaster with a single AA battery just doesn't cut it.
I just had the miserable task of watching the Indiana Fever play basketball without Caitlin Clark. There were a whole lot of things wrong with this game on the basketball side of things. Obviously, the Indiana Fever's interior defense was horrible. If you watched this game, you saw them give up, I think, over 50 points in the paint. Aaliyah Boston looked like a cone down there. It was literally horrible to watch. I haven't seen a team play that bad interior defense in a long time. They were not even trying. It's like Caitlin Clark wasn't playing out there, and they decided, you know what, since Caitlin Clark isn't playing, we're not even going to try. We know we're gonna lose. It was horrible to watch. This is a game you could have won against the youngest team in the league. You're playing against a bunch of rookies out there. This was a winnable game for the Indiana Fever. This team, mind you, with Caitlin Clark, literally lost by 2 to the New York Liberty, which is the championship team last year. And without Caitlin Clark, you look trash out there. And it's not even that they look trash, they are boring to watch.
Everyone gave it their all, but let's face it, there was a Caitlin-sized void in this game that could not be filled by hustle or grit alone. No one on the Fever drew defenders like she does, forcing the opposition to constantly adjust and scramble. No one created those clutch opportunities that turned the tide when things looked bleak, and most importantly, no one ignited that intangible spark that keeps a team believing deep into the fourth quarter. Instead, the team appeared to be running on empty, desperately trying to fill the Caitlin-shaped hole with a collective "we got this." It was a team performance that essentially cried out, "Please come back," louder than a rom-com X with a boom box outside your window. It sounded more like a begging whisper than a battle cry, painfully evident, urgent, and optimistic. The Mystics, on the other hand, came out smelling blood and not only won, but also feasted. It was like seeing a school of piranhas stumble upon a single, defenseless fish. This Heat team was missing Caitlin.
The fourth quarter in almost every game that they've played. They play hard. They're selfless. They move the ball. They cut hard. They play well together. And, they kept coming at us. And at times we had breakdowns on the defensive end, our coverages. Their physicality, I felt like on their defensive end against us took us out of our flow, particularly in the second half.
Obviously, you guys need to adjust without Caitlin, too. Is there anything you could pinpoint with the offensive issues?
Yeah, certainly, not having any points in transition, is one that's obvious. Caitlin is really good at finding rim runners, getting the ball up the floor. That's one. We got to be better there. Not relying so heavily on dribble handoffs and on-ball screens. And I know we talked about this pregame.
The scoreboard displayed a respectably high 837, but that number hardly told the story. The game itself was more of a demolition job wrapped in a close scoreline. The Mystics were always one step ahead, moving like they had seen every play before it even happened. They looked like students desperately trying to catch up in a pop quiz with the answers already written on the board. They ruthlessly exploited their weakness by pushing the pace, attacking every mismatch, and essentially treating the Fever like a practice squad running drills and running up the score in their own minds. Even though they fought valiantly, the Mystics' hunger served as a harsh reminder that sometimes a missing component can turn a fight into a surrender, regardless of how much you would like to think otherwise. This Fever team was lacking the creative force, defensive anchor, and inspirational heart that she brings. Stephanie White just called a timeout after falling behind 12 points with 20 seconds remaining and 6 seconds remaining.